You do not wake to silence, you wake to movement. Before the sky lightens, someone beside you shifts under wool and rough linen. A child coughs, an animal scrapes against wood. The air is stale, thick with last night's smoke, trapped beneath a thatched roof that has no chimney to draw it cleanly away. Your eyes adjust slowly. The room is small. It contains everything. This is England around the year 900. There are no separate bedrooms, no corridors, no glass in the windows, just shuttered openings and woven walls packed with clay. The floor is hardened earth. In winter, it turns damp. In summer, it turns to dust. You share this space with your family, and when the cold deepens, with animals whose warmth matters more than comfort. You rise because delay has consequences. Outside, the settlement is modest, a scatter of timber structures, small fenced plots, fields beyond, divided into long strips. Somewhere nearby stands the Lord's Hall or estate center if you live on a larger manor. If you are closer to a fortified town, a bourg established under King Alfred's reforms, there may be earth ramparts and timber palisades. But most people do not live behind walls. Most live exposed. Before you think about food or weather, you must understand something more important. You belong somewhere. Not in the way a modern person chooses where to live. You belong legally, economically, and socially to land that existed before you and will remain after you. If you were born into a peasant household, that status shapes everything that follows. Freedom exists in degrees here. Some peasants hold more secure land rights, many do not. If you are unfree, a condition still present in Anglo-Saxon England, your obligations are fixed. If you are a churl with customary rights, you still owe labor and dues, grain, livestock, days of work on the Lord's domain. Your identity is recorded in estate memory, in obligations repeated each season. Movement is possible, but not simple. Protection comes with expectation. Power flows downward. The king, in Wessex, likely Edward the Elder at this time, depends on regional lords. Lords depend on labor. The church stands beside them, not outside the system. Priests baptize your children. They also reinforce order. To question structure is not only risky, it is sinful. You did not choose this arrangement. It was waiting when you arrived. And survival begins with accepting that reality. Because each morning, before you lift a tool, before you swallow coarse bread, before you step into cold mud, your place in this world has already been decided. The year does not unfold in months for you. It unfolds in labor. When the soil softens in spring, plowing begins, not with iron machines, but with a wooden plow strengthened by a narrow iron share, pulled by oxen if your village has them. Oxen are slow, expensive to maintain, and essential. Without them, fields shrink. Without fields, hunger arrives early. You walk behind the plow, guiding it through heavy earth that resists you. The work is uneven. Stones break the line. Roots catch the blade. Your hands blister, then harden. Sowing follows. Seed must be scattered carefully, not wasted. A poor distribution now becomes a thin harvest later. Summer is not easier. Weeding, repairing fences, watching animals, cutting hay. Hay matters more than comfort. It determines whether livestock survive winter, and livestock determine whether you eat next year. Every task connects to another. There is no isolated effort. Mistakes ripple forward. Harvest compresses everything. When grain ripens, time tightens. You cut with sickles that dull quickly. Every household works. Children gather sheaves. Older people tie bundles. If rain falls before grain is stored, the loss is severe. Mold, rot, wasted labor. A single bad harvest does not always mean famine, but it strips away security. Two in succession can empty settlements. Most days, your meals reflect that uncertainty. Bread is dense, dark, made from barley or rye more often than fine wheat. Porridge thickens it. Beans and peas supplement if gardens produce enough. Cabbage, onions, leeks. In coastal or river regions, fish may appear more often. Inland, it is rarer unless preserved. Salt is valuable. Preservation is limited. Storage pits and granaries protect grain, but not perfectly. Vermin are constant competitors. Mice and rats do not respect ownership. Trade exists, but it does not rescue you from scarcity. Market towns exchange goods. Silver pennies circulate, but most rural households remain bound to what they can produce or owe. Even near fortified towns like Winchester or York, distance matters. Roads are uneven. Travel costs time you cannot spare. Your body reflects this diet and this effort. Protein is inconsistent. Calories fluctuate. In years of strain, growth in children slows. Teeth wear down from coarse flour. Skeletons recovered from cemeteries in Anglo-Saxon England showed joint degeneration beginning early in adulthood. By autumn, stores are counted, grain measured, dues set aside, the Lord's portion delivered. What remains must last through winter. When frost settles and daylight shortens, labor shifts but does not vanish. Tools are repaired, wood is cut, animals are fed from dwindling hay. And through it all, one truth remains steady. The margin between stability and hunger is narrow. Food is only one uncertainty. Water is another. You draw it from a stream, a shallow well, sometimes from the same source used for washing wool or soaking hides. There is no knowledge of microorganisms, no concept of invisible contamination. If sickness follows, it is interpreted through faith, fate, or misfortune. The connection between source and symptom remains unseen. Illness moves quickly in close quarters. Your house, built from timber frames packed with wattle and daub, holds warmth but also moisture. Smoke lingers beneath thatch. In winter, animals share the space. Their breath helps against frost. Their waste does not help at all. Fleas spread easily. Lice are ordinary. Parasites weaken children whose diets are already limited. In such conditions, disease requires no dramatic entrance. Dysentery dehydrates. Respiratory infections settle into lungs irritated by smoke. Fevers burn through households in waves. Some recover, some do not. There are no trained physicians in most rural communities. Healing depends on household knowledge, local herbal practice, and prayer. Childhood is the most fragile stage. Many infants do not survive their first years. Burial grounds from this period contain small graves in numbers that are difficult to ignore. If a child lives past early childhood, prospects improve, but risk never disappears. An infected cut, a fall from height, a winter illness, any can end a life that seemed secure a week earlier. When death comes, it is not unusual enough to halt the rhythm of work for long. Fields must still be tended, animals still fed. Grief exists, but it is folded into routine. Community absorbs loss because it has no alternative. Faith offers explanation. The church stands as both spiritual authority and social anchor. Baptism marks belonging. The liturgical calendar structures time alongside agricultural cycles. Illness can be interpreted as testing, punishment, or divine mystery. Repentance is preached, obedience reinforced. Law does not operate as private negotiation. Justice is public and visible. Compensation payments, weregild, assign value to injury or death depending on status. Disputes may be settled in assemblies where oath-taking matters deeply. Reputation can protect you. Lack of it leaves you exposed. In more serious accusations, ordeal remains a possibility. Carrying heated iron, submersion in water, survival or healing interpreted as judgment. It is not constant practice everywhere, but it exists as a recognized mechanism when certainty fails. And above all these daily risks, another threat lingers: conflict. England in 900 is not untouched by war. Decades of Scandinavian incursions have reshaped the political landscape.
The Danelaw governs large portions of the north and east. Border zones are tense. Fortified burhs in Wessex are not decorative, they are defensive infrastructure. When levies are called, you may be required to serve, not as a professional warrior, but as part of the fyrd, a militia drawn from landholding men. Campaigns disrupt planting, raids destroy stores meant for winter. Even rumors can trigger flight, livestock driven away, grain hidden. War does not need to reach your doorstep to alter your survival. Its presence alone narrows your margin further. Not everyone carries these risks in the same way.
If you were born female in England around 900, expectation settles early. Your work begins young, tending smaller children, grinding grain, fetching water, learning to spin wool. Textile production is not secondary labor, it is central to household survival. Cloth is clothing, bedding, trade good, tax payment. Hours at the spindle are not optional, they are structural. Marriage comes sooner than it might feel comfortable. Alliances are practical. Land must remain worked. Households must remain stable. Consent exists within custom, but choice is limited by circumstance. Once married, your legal standing is tied closely to your husband's household. Property arrangements vary by region and status, yet daily authority rests largely with men. Your labor does not replace field work, it adds to it. You cook over open hearths that fill your lungs with smoke. You preserve what food can be preserved. You brew ale safer to drink than stagnant water. You manage stores, measure grain, track what will last and what will not. When harvest requires every hand, you work outside as well. And then there is childbirth. It is common, it is dangerous. Midwives rely on experience, not formal medical training. There is no antiseptic practice in the modern sense, no surgical intervention for obstructed labor. Many women survive multiple births, some do not survive the first. Complications, hemorrhage, infection, obstructed delivery can turn routine expectation into sudden crisis. Graveyards from the period contain women who died young, sometimes buried with infants. Archaeology does not record their voices, but it records the outcome. If you live long enough to see your children grow, your role shifts but does not diminish. Age brings authority within the household. Knowledge accumulates, planting cycles, remedies, weather patterns. Survival depends on memory as much as strength. And yet, despite disease, hunger, hierarchy, and conflict, communities persist. Villages are rebuilt after raids, fields are replanted after poor harvests, burhs expand, trade networks revive, monasteries copy texts, law codes are written and revised, political boundaries shift, but ordinary routines resume. This world does not improve quickly, it does not become comfortable. It stabilizes because people adapt to its constraints. They measure success differently, not by accumulation, but by continuity. To see a child reach adulthood is achievement. To endure a winter without famine is relief. To avoid war for another season is fortune. Survival here is not dramatic, it is repetitive, it is practical, it is built from thousands of small decisions made under pressure. So, when you imagine England in 900, do not picture only kings consolidating kingdoms or warriors clashing along borders. Picture smoke trapped under thatch, grain counted carefully in autumn, oxen pulling through stubborn soil, a woman at a spindle before dawn, a man answering a levy call he did not choose. This is what it takes to endure the old ages, not glory, persistence. England in 900 survives not because life is gentle, but because people adapt to hardship as a constant. Stability rests on repetition, fields replanted, tools repaired, children raised despite loss,
obligations met despite exhaustion. Survival here is not heroic, it is disciplined endurance in a world where the margin for error is thin and the future is never guaranteed. If you want to keep exploring history this way, grounded, unromanticized, and built from the realities of daily life, subscribe and join the next reconstruction. The next world we step into may test survival in ways even harsher than this one.